And Ethan, what does the issue of violence mean to you personally? And outside of your potential role as mayor, what is your personal responsibility to address it?
My family came to this country to escape violence, and the intergenerational trauma that systemic violence brings is something that you can't get away from. So for me, there's a personal component to it. So the struggle against violence is also something that I worked on when I was a prosecutor in this town. I worked on it when I was in the legislature for 10 years, serving on a criminal justice assessment panel. The struggle for social justice and against violence is a family value for us at home. My wife helped found the Alaskan Institute for Justice, and so we've seen up close and personal what victimization does. And I just firmly believe that you cannot be free when you're afraid. And we all have an obligation to stand up and make this a safe community. That's why we are all Anchorage.
Domestic and sexual violence disproportionately impacts the Alaska Native community in Anchorage. First, please describe your understanding of why rates of violence are higher in this community. Then describe how, as mayor, you would partner with Alaska Native leaders to identify solutions to this issue.
This is one of the tragedies that afflicts us not just as people of Anchorage, but people across the state. And there are structural reasons in the nature of the relationship between urban Alaska and rural Alaska. But I've seen, when I was a prosecutor, I saw people trafficked from Western Alaska brought into Anchorage. I recall individual victims who showed up in court beaten so badly they could barely stand. And there are some historic reasons for this, but in terms of trying to craft solutions, we need to look to possible co-management issues with the largest private landowner in Anchorage, which is the Klutna. We need to work with South Central Foundation. I would do things like reappoint a rural or native coordinator in the mayor's office. We cannot stand idly by while a significant portion of our population is victimized this way. And I think there are great solutions out there if we just change our way of thinking.
Ethan, in order to engage the community in positive and proactive ways, studies show that police officers need to have anywhere from 35 to 50% discretionary time. This time allows them to develop relationships with the citizens they serve. As a result of the current staffing crisis at the Anchorage Police Department, officers have not been able to have that needed discretionary time. As mayor, how would you propose to increase staffing and therefore the officers' discretionary time?
I just hired more cops. We didn't plow any snow this year. There's a lot of money out there. Let's just hire more cops. I don't know why that's such a big deal. There's a study that's been done. This is the 2009-2013 strategic plan for the Anchorage Police Department. All these things that we've been talking about, they're old ideas. They know how to do this stuff. Let's just follow the recipe in here. What we need out of a mayor is someone who's got a vision for how we can make this a safe, secure, and strong city. And just doing things the way we've been doing them isn't going to work. If you want to have community policing, if you want to have a police force that looks like the community, that interacts with the community, that helps the community, we've just got to be a little bit more aggressive and do the things we know how to do. And so this isn't rocket science. This is basic management.
There is a lack of detox and associated substance abuse treatment options in Anchorage. There was a strong correlation between substance abuse and alcohol abuse and incidents of violence. A significant portion of violent crimes in Anchorage have alcohol or drugs involved. The cost of first response and incarceration could possibly be reduced if detox assessment and treatment services were provided to at-risk individuals. Do you support funding the creation of additional detox and substance abuse treatment facilities in Anchorage?
Absolutely. When I was in the legislature, I led the way on doing restorative justice and specialty courts that help treat people who were incarcerated. 80% of the folks that are incarcerated have some kind of drug or alcohol problem. Many of them have some kind of traumatic brain injury. And so there's dual diagnoses that are out there frequently. If we want to solve the problems that we're confronted with, we need to understand the people that we're dealing with. And you look at where APD does a lot of its calls. I mean, why don't we have an officer patrolling around Brother Francis? I I mean, how many calls would we not have to make? How much of a savings would that generate, freeing up officers to do other things at other times? Why don't we have a first aid station there so that when there's a man down call, the first responders aren't stuck in that one place? We've got to solve the problem by looking at where the problems originate. And drug and alcohol are 80% of the problem.
What would you do to encourage redevelopment downtown as a livable area for various income levels and shops such as groceries?
Well, this is a great change, of course. I think one of the things we need to do downtown is fix the 4th Avenue Theater. It's the marquee building in downtown. I don't know how we project ourselves as an appropriate tourist destination when our biggest and most famous building is boarded up. I think we need to do things like make sure we have denser, more multi-use facilities so that people who want to live maybe above a shop and have an apartment downtown can go do that. I used to hang out with a friend who lived above the Orange Door. Anyone remember the Orange Door? Yeah. Okay, well, so downtown used to have that kind of vibrancy and vitality. We need to change the look of it as well. It needs to look like a place that's going somewhere. And it shouldn't board up at night. We shouldn't roll up the sidewalks of downtown once it gets dark in, say, September, and then reopen it again, say, February. But in terms of making sure that it's more vital, we need to also address the public safety issues that are there. It's not a place to be late at night. I know people that operate restaurants there. They've been mugged outside their restaurants. That's not a safe place to be. That means we need to have more of a beat cop situation. We need to be a friendlier place, and we need to make sure that the bar break situation is dealt with and the public inebriate situation is dealt with.